starting the stream now.
Yes.
Sending it at 10 Mbps. I hope it is 1080p. I'm check the settings. I think it's 1080p.
Yeah, I think we are live now. Yes. So guys, we are live now. Just
Perfect.
copying the URL and sharing to our groups.
Absolutely.
So guys, if you want to post it somewhere, like on WhatsApp status or somewhere, I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
gave the link to your.
I'm waiting for the link actually.
Yeah, I just sent you on our Telegram group.
Okay.
All right.
Is there any like background sound around me?
I mean, it is fine. Let it be there.
So like, can you reply in the chat?
Yes, sir.
Like, can you reply in the chat? The live chat.
Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine if you want to. So we already have 4 viewers now. We are waiting for 1 minute and we will be starting the stream.
All right.
Just posting it on my.
Actually, there's this friend of mine, Gagan. He also wants to join the podcast. Can I send him the link as well?
To watch, right?
No, I mean join the podcast.
Oh, join. Okay, that gets a little bit more to that. Preet, what do you think?
So fifth person, I don't know how is accommodated within this 4-1. So what do you say? I mean,
Maybe in the next one? Because this
yeah,
time
I think
is
in the
like
next one we can include him. Yeah, because I mean we already started streaming, right? Otherwise we could have accommodated him also.
All right, no problem.
Yeah. So Avram, I think we are good to go.
perfect.
So we have actually 4 to 5 topics this time, just
Sure.
because we have subject matter experts with us in Android and Linux. So just a moment, I'm just posting it on my WhatsApp. Wait.
Arjun is asking what are the topics today, right?
All right. So yeah, hi guys. Welcome to the Open Talks episode number 28. And this time we are live with Salim and Sahil. And these two guys are, pretty much expert in Android ROM development. So they know, they are the, current ROM developers, and they know what is going on in the market right now in a, recent scenario. So essentially, they will brief us like what all is going on behind the Android. Like we all see the different numbers, like Android 11, Android 12, 12L, 13. But what is actually going on behind, and what is going on with Fuchsia OS? So we will see that also. Other than that, we have some topics on how Ubuntu is being vulnerable to different vulnerabilities, and this all is coming through Snap. So let's see what is going on there. And we also have one more topic. So essentially, we'll go through one each and every one, as we go always. So everyone, I think we are going to roll the intro.
Absolutely.
So hello there, this is Salim, and I'm
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
And we are
I guess,
back.
yeah. Perfect. So, guys, this time we have Salim and Sahib with us. So these two guys are the Android ROM developers, and what we are going to discuss is their point of view on Android. So essentially, whatever is going on behind the scenes, they pretty much develop the Android ROMs, right? So they know what is going on. So we'll start with Salim, and we'll move over to Sahil, and let's see their point of views. So Salim, please take the stage.
okay. Hello there, I'm Salim, and well, I'm here to give my views over Android. So, Android is a mobile operating system which was mainly made for camera devices and was later ported for smartphones, touch-based smartphones. So, like after first initial releases over smartphones, it exponentially spread over the internet. Like first of all, the UI was very friendly and all, and then after that, it was open source and was like public for contributions over Apache license. So the first public release of smartphones was around 13 years ago, and then the development like started and grew more and more and more. So it was based on Linux LTS kernel. Like it, it's a source which is checked out from the long-term stable branch of mainline and then worked over. Like the Android system needs some extra patches and all to boot up and like be free of bugs that work very well. So like first of all, they needed like a very long list of patches in order to work, boot, and like very efficiently. And then after that, the people are like trying to decrease those patches and move on to like directly booting over the mainline Linux kernel. So like according to me, the backend of Linux is like well uh, mainly according to me, Android is not like getting the full potential of what a Linux kernel can do. Like for example, like many of the features are like dead over on the Android phones and they are like not even being used at all. So it's like that for me. So according to me,
I
like,
see. I see.
yeah, they are trying over to like get those features also working, but like there is not any remarkable development yet over that thing. So they are moving over.
I see. Interesting. So, what we have the topic is essentially they could do a lot with Linux kernel, but they deliberately decided not to do with it. I don't know what was going on in their mind, but essentially, we all know that it is based on Linux. So essentially, it could do a lot of things, but they deliberately tried to design their own solutions, I would say, instead of using the already available ones and contributing to them. And that is the point of view of Salim, I guess,
Yeah,
on the Android and its kernel.
exactly.
I think that's also
Right.
our standpoint, right? Like the last episode
Yes.
we discussed just that.
Yeah. Absolutely correct.
I mean, it's just changing right now. Okay, there's the
Mhm.
generic kernel image being worked on. Now, Google is
Mhm.
just working on a single kernel, which would require almost negligible patches. The DTBO and modules. Now, DTBO is a device tree structure. Okay, it basically has the information about layout of the device. You can say. I mean the hardware that has been connected to it. Okay, so now they are just moving that to a special partition. Now it usually used to be combined with the kernel package itself, but now it's being moved over to vendor boot. Now this has started since devices which are coming out with Linux 4.19, like the latest platform, you can say 870, and like 888 is going with 5.4 right now, which is probably using a lot more of mainline modules. Now this mainline is basically you could this idea behind this is basically you could update those modules like the Apex modules. Now Apex modules is basically Android has been splitting up into special special modules. Those could be updated separately without needing to replace the entire thing. Like the play system update will just update that specific thing, and that thing could be. Now this could solve a lot of problem. Like we have like the security patches seen in Android is horrible. Like the OEMs just update patches like once in a twice, once in a like two
Yeah.
or 3 months. Like it's
Once in a
just
I
millennium.
not.
mean,
Yeah.
I
let me
mean,
tell you a very,
vulnerability just
very,
stays there, and
yeah, I mean, Sahil, just putting our one very latest headline, right?
yeah.
Realme just released some tablet 4 months
Mhm.
ago,
Mhm.
and they are telling now that,
Mhm.
I mean, it's having Android 11 right now. They're telling that there is no updates to it. Just
Uh,
4 months old device, right? You can
Yeah,
understand
that
how is
kind
this
of was
scenario.
a Lenovo scene too. Like I have this tablet
Oh
which
man.
just got no OT at all.
Hmm.
Like they just did not update it at all. Okay. Yeah, that is a pretty disappointing thing.
I
But
see.
on contrary, we actually had this thing in developer options of Android, the dynamic system update. If you have seen on the latest devices, since Android, I think it was introduced since Android 11 itself. Okay, now you
Okay.
could now third-party developers have like Google has a code for that. They had documented it. You could basically just sideload a GSI and the dynamic layout. It will allocate a special user space for that
Okay.
image. Like basically, you could say you're dual booting the thing.
I
The
see.
dynamic thing,
Hmm.
the dynamic image, the dynamic partition layout has bought this feature. Like it wouldn't be static as it used to be over years. Like the
Okay.
system would resize it accordingly. And
Mm-hmm.
like there's this pretty cool application which was recently developed. Like you could just
Mm-hmm.
use a GSI and then just sideload it. It wouldn't even require unlocking bootloader. Okay, like it would just
Interesting.
run like a boot. Like you could say you could just boot it and then you can
Yeah.
use it, and when you want to switch you can switch back. It doesn't affect your user data at all.
yeah, just like a
Okay,
live
so
boot
is
it
it
is.
persistent? I mean,
Yeah,
like whatever you do in the particular environment, is it persistent or like it is just temporary, like in a live boot kind of solution?
yeah.
Yeah, it's a live boot thing. Like one
It's
time
a
you
live
switch,
boot.
like
Okay.
you can just experience the updated Android version
Now actually you
That's
could
Okay.
just use it too, like yeah, like you can just use it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like you could
until
just
you
install
reboot and
apps
then it
that
goes
works.
bad.
But what
I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
about the
yeah, you will
data?
have
Will
that
it be
notification.
kept over reboot, right? Like, will it be kept over reboot?
No,
See,
no,
like
no.
see, it's like switching on the slots. You could say like it switches the dynamic slot to that separate allocated block, and when you
Right.
reboot, it will just go back. There's a notification actually. You'll get a notification that says that you are running on a dynamic system update. You can reboot to go to your main system, and after booting to main system, you could also reboot again. There's like some basic command lines. Google has documented it on EOSP. So that's a pretty cool feature, but
Actually, if you
sadly
boot
it's
back, right?
being what?
Actually, if you boot back, does the
Hmm.
data still exist? I mean, the
Yeah,
stored
yeah, the
data in it.
data still exists.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that is actually a leap because like normally bootloader doesn't allow you to execute any code on the SOC, right?
See, like this has been like a dynamic system update. Basically, there's this dynamic partition layout that was introduced to Android. Now, this layout
Sahil,
does
like
is what?
just
Okay.
checking out my knowledge, right? Is it the
Okay.
AV partitioning scheme or is it different
Actually,
than
I don't
that?
think it is same. It is
See
not
now,
It is
see,
something different, right?
something
yeah,
different.
AB
yeah, it is
dynamic,
different.
no?
See,
Okay.
AB on
Okay.
dynamic, you have a regular AB too, and there's this virtual AB too. Like it's virtual, it's not actual AB. It's like running that virtual thing on that dynamic layout. Okay, there's actually
Understood.
full AB on dynamic layout as well. That's like that is going on now. They are mandatory
Okay.
to have a virtual virtual AB on newer launch devices. Since Android 10, Google has made it compulsory for OEMs to just push out the dynamic layout, and they need to have it. Like it's a compulsory thing to pass GTS. Okay, GTS is like
Interesting.
Google Test Suite. They need that to like certification stuff. There's like CTS, VTS, GTS, and STS. Okay, now those are test
Okay.
suites. They are being
I
executed
see.
over devices. Now, before you could get an update, there's this. They need to pass all of those
Mm-hmm.
after applying the patch, and that takes
Yeah.
like a month or two. Okay, that's like a slow process. But
Yeah. This
OEMs
is
do get,
the exact thing we discussed in last podcast.
yeah.
Why smartphones are releasing in China first and then coming to the world, because in China they don't
No,
need to
yeah,
go through this.
yeah, they don't have
Yeah.
the certification thing. Okay, like they don't need
Yeah.
to have GMS. Okay, GMS is basically
Correct.
Google Mobile Services, like Google applications. They don't need that certification to run that. That is why there's this China weekly on MIUI that just keeps on updating almost every week. I think there's even a
Yeah.
daily
Correct.
branch, but that's internal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, sorry. Yeah. Yes, you were speaking something. I just interrupted you. Sorry.
Okay, so I was saying that like you could just boot yeah. So this thing is actually deprecating in Android 10. Like Android T, they had introduced this in I think Android 11. Okay, then now they are just deprecating it over. Like they couldn't find a proper use case for DSU. Okay, there's also this
Okay.
pretty cool
Okay.
thing in Android 12, which where they brought those fabricated overlays. Now, basically, this is not a standard overlay. You could just have lots of rootless mods. Like those days are back. Like you can have rootless mods without needing to like
Mm-hmm.
root at all. Like you could change a lot of things.
Okay.
There was this tweak again by K Dragon, in which he had you could just change the monet colors and stuff just by that fabricated overlay, and it actually
Got it.
doesn't even require the application to be in the root. But sadly again, that was patched by Google around in January or December security patch. They just removed this
Mm-hmm.
feature, so it's like there, but then you need the system app to actually use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, this
I
is
see.
really interesting because like I always thought Android secure boot, right? Always allowed only trusted code to boot, right?
Yeah, it
Exactly.
does.
Yeah. I also thought that.
It does that,
Yeah.
but see, it's like you could say it's like a testing feature. You could just say they like deprecated it again in Android 10, Android T.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, T is like coming next year, right? Next year, yeah, no,
Yeah.
actually the September of this year, September or November,
Yeah.
like
End of
it's
this year, I guess.
yeah. There will be a SV2 release right before that. Like that should be around, if like the rumors are correct, it should be around March. Like the next release, the next security patch will also bump the SDK level to 32. Like they had been like they
Okay.
had lots of bugs in Android 12, and now they just need to fix all of them. So they are like releasing a mid release, you could say. Like there was
I see.
8.0, now there's a 8.1. So like now
Mm-hmm.
we actually it was initially 12.1, now they just call it 12L. Like they are targeting for
Yeah.
tablets, but then those same images will be available for pixel as well. Okay, so like you could
Mm-hmm.
say it's a QPR release. QPR release is like a bug fix release, you could say. It's like once in a 3 months you get that, like feature drops. Those are like usually QPR releases. Okay, so
Okay.
like in those releases they fix a lot of bunches lots of bugs. So Android 12 has this weird annoying bug which just causes your system UI to crash. Okay, that's like I think I had been
Mm-hmm.
facing it like 6 to 7 times a day. Like it just shows that you have a system UI is
Wow.
crashing. You could wait and just
Okay.
close it. I mean,
I see.
just pressing it doesn't do nothing, but that has been fixed in 12L. So that's like a bug fix release.
Got it.
Actually,
Interesting.
one thing which is interesting for me is like finding out how it prevents access to those partitions, right? The real partitions.
Yeah, it's like a dynamic layout. Like they don't basically they just set a size of that block. Okay, it's called as a super block. That block will contain your system vendor and your like other partitions like ODM and the partitions which are like now there's a pretty interesting thing like Now the Realme and Oppo, they're just pushing out those weird uh, partitions. They are called as like my product, my company, my OEM, my ticket. They like, I think there are like 7 to 8 of those partitions. They just do nothing,
Yeah.
but they're just there. They are like
They're like
literally,
mounting other partitions
yeah,
inside some other partition.
yeah. It's like pretty
Okay,
stupid.
Yeah.
I see.
Actually, so just one more clarification, right? To basically boot the device with the custom
Mhm.
partition, right? Does it require to be signed by Google or some entity?
No, it does not need, doesn't require to be signed. It's like basically you're saying you have this block. Now in this block, you are using some of it for like your system vendor, your regular ones,
Right.
and then you have still some free space for like you could just run another image on that. It's like a dual boot, you could say. It doesn't need to be signed, I think. On Xiaomi, they have just blocked this
Actually, that
feature.
is
They
interesting because you can still put some malicious code on the packages right inside, and
see,
in
those
theory, it's
are
going
read
to have
only. Those are still read only. Okay, you can't modify those. The ones that,
yeah.
yeah,
That
the
is what
ones
I'm
you
thinking. I mean, how are they keeping it read only, right? That is a real
see,
question.
see, it's like a block which is not yet assigned. Okay,
Actually, it's
so
the
the
kernel same. It's the kernel common between both.
Yeah. The kernel is common between them.
Okay,
yeah,
okay. So yeah, that might give give a little bit of guess because kernel might be preventing the modifications. If kernel itself was different, we can put
Mhm.
another kernel. Right? Then we can tell kernel to do whatever we want. Right? I mean,
Hey, you
it's
can't just boot another kernel, right? You right now it only supports you to run a system image. Like you can just GSI, you can run GSI right now with that. Okay,
got it,
like
got it.
you need to also have the space for it. Once if your entire thing is filled with it, you wouldn't have any space left to actually run another dynamic layout and that. Okay, so yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
In case if
same goes.
someone finds out like how a direct system update flashes, and then put up your malicious code and then boots up the device on a log bootloader.
Yeah, I mean that is like pretty easy, right? In the sense that
See,
is
like those
trusted.
partitions are still read only, okay,
Yeah.
unless you have a user debug. User debug builds are basically debug builds. There's another engineering build, but
Yes.
on user debug, you basically just you could have ADB root on that, okay. So by ADB root, you could mount them and just change it, but on a
Actually,
production
is it
releases,
there for
you can't
user
do it.
debug? I thought only for engineering, right?
No,
ADB
no. ADB is there. ADB root is
root,
only
I
for
think only for user debug. I don't think it is there. It's only for
it is
engineering.
there. It is there.
Oh, it is
Only
there.
on
Okay.
it is there. Unless you opt out, unless there's this SU package which is bundled, super user package. If you comment that out, that thing will be removed.
Got
It
it.
yeah. So it runs on user debug and engineering builds as well. So by
I see.
ADB root, you could mount that. Okay, but on a production releases that is user, the
Absolutely.
ADB root doesn't exist. So you just can't mount
Correct.
it. Okay.
Correct. Correct. I'm
Yeah.
still like curious about all the apps because some of the apps do have actually system level access, right? Even if it's a different system which boots, right? That some of the apps like the
No, it's
even
like
the
isolated. They are like isolated. You can say they are running in a different container and your main system is running in a different container.
correct,
They are
correct, correct, correct.
isolated.
Got it, got it. I mean, only the I think kernel is convinced to isolate it, right? So I think that is how
Yeah,
it
there
is
are
doing it.
kernel patches for that. There's this DTBO thing that does that. Okay, there's
Got
like
it.
config that just enables that feature. You could also retrofit this on devices. Retrofit is basically like backporting that thing on like regular ones, but
Yes.
then you will have issue with the storage where like you if assume you assign the system block to a dynamic block, and then you will have to like have vendor and other partitions inside that as well. So like that's
Correct.
minus if you could. Pixel 3s were like retrofit, like Pixel 3 where like a traditional layout was shipped with initial, but then with Android 11 they just ship with a dynamic layout. Now that was again retrofit. So like they
Hmm.
backported that thing, like they had assigned that block for that. So you
Interesting.
wouldn't need to repartition the entire thing for the dynamic thing.
So in that retrofit, does like the space gets allocated or like it remains the same space and then it's
No,
retrofitted?
it gets a different space at all. Like it's completely isolated.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
got the idea because the kernel is the one who is actually allocating the space. Okay, don't touch this particular space. It
Hmm.
is read only, right? this particular space, you can read
Hmm.
and write as
Hmm.
much as you want, right?
Yes.
Then if kernel prevents, then there is no way, right? In the sense, like, even if root asks, nothing is going to happen, right, to the other space.
Yeah.
Like even the containers, we do have root access, but it can't modify any memory space of the host as well as any space which is not really allowed to
Yeah.
the
It
container,
cannot do that. Yeah. Correct.
even though they are sharing the same entire kernel,
Yeah.
basically.
They are like sharing like they are in the same storage block, but then they are like isolated from each other. Like they
Correct.
can't just modify each other.
Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
is it each other, like the host doesn't have any privilege to also edit this, the original OS, right?
See, there's this notification that you will get that just says that you could reboot to your main system,
Yes.
and that notification will again go. That notification won't appear once you go back to your original OS that you were running, the factory one.
Right.
And then
Then
there's
we
some
have to use
AD.
commands.
There's some ADB commands that just it's on AOSP documentation. They have documented it how to do it.
Correct. Got
Okay,
it. Got it.
so yeah,
Basically, once you are booted back to the main OS, you have to use a command line to reboot it back.
yeah, to just
Yeah.
reboot into those. Correct.
Got it. Got it. Okay, there are a
And
lot of chats actually coming in, right? By the way, like if
yeah,
you are actually
yeah.
able to watch.
I mean, from that, I was monitoring those questions. So I have one question in line, but as the discussion is going on, I wanted to put one more point that Salim, Sahil, anyone of you can say on this, that where does Fuchsia OS stand in between? Like, the whole Android list is going on, right? Where, what is the point of Fuchsia OS here? So
See, it's
anyone of
like
you can say.
it's like a work in progress. You can consider it like Windows developer builds where they'll just push a lot of things, but like very like just few of those gets into production releases. It's like a test suite that Google is just trying to do. We can't predict what could happen with that. Like when would they may just coexist at once. Like there was this Lenovo, I think that was some IoT device that was running Fuchsia. Okay, so like they are
Okay.
experimenting things. Like we can't say what can happen with that.
All right. And
Might as well
Mr.
just
Salim, you also
remove
have
it.
some point.
Yeah, they might just cancel the plan and you
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
never.
that is one point I was
I
like
see.
going with, but
Just
Google's
Google
plan
things.
always goes sideways, right? I mean, there are a lot of plans which went sideways for Google, right?
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
if this goes
Yeah.
sideways, it's not a real surprise, right? I mean, in theory.
yeah, like
It's
it's not a big deal. It's like they can just ship to whatever they had already planned for it. Like
But anyway, I am interested in SteamOS on phones, if that is possible. Right?
Yeah. So we have
no,
one question. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, sorry. Please go ahead.
No,
I'll,
continue.
okay. So we have one question from Jatin that what is extended RAM? Like nowadays we are seeing a lot of phones like with a slider which has 2 GB, 3 GB, and 5 GB of extended RAM.
Is that
So
Okay,
yeah,
that's basically like a swap ZRAM thing in Linux that you use. You
absolutely.
could use your storage
I
for,
mean
yeah, you could
that
use your,
was
but
from
that's like
ages,
slow.
right?
Yeah, but
Exactly.
now
Yeah.
they are
So I
adding
mean
a toggle.
exactly. So the thing is that this thing was from ages in Linux first of all.
Hmm.
It was there in I mean I'm using ASUS Zenfone Max Prime 1 and it also has ZRAM of 2 GB, right? It
Yeah,
doesn't
see,
have the toggle in those things, but it does have. But now what they are trying to do is
it's like
they
marketing gimmicks.
this marketing gimmick, yeah, absolutely. So they just want to put out a point that you have 8 GB of RAM, but with just a slider you can just increase it to 12 GB. So I mean,
See,
but the
like
thing is that
Android had
yeah,
ZRAM,
yeah,
okay? They had ZRAM and swap for a while. You could, if you have ever built a ROM or something like that, you could just set that swap or thing. It's like a part. You could just set it, okay? It's like it's basically Linux feature. There's nothing special about it.
exactly.
But now they are like marketing gimmicks. Like you could just get more RAM and just okay. But again, that's slower than your actual RAM. The storage is much slower, so that could actually ruin
Absolutely.
your performance.
Just
Yeah,
like
it
how
does
a
hamper.
swap in Linux works. Just
I
similar
mean,
to
it's
that.
better
Correct.
than
Correct.
having FAP on eMMC, right? It will kill the eMMC.
Yes, absolutely correct.
I mean, I would like a toggle to turn it off and turn it on, not like change it, right?
Yeah, well,
Right.
Why not? I'm like editing some video or something. I need the complete performance. Don't need any scrap, right? Do whatever I can
Correct.
with the RAM, right? then I can turn it off. Like, I mean, CPU is doing the basically like compression and saving it into that space, then taking it back. Like, I mean, backing store. It's like too many tasks CPU is
Yeah,
running
it
through. Right?
actually causes more performance loss than gain actually. Like
Correct. Yeah. Only
you
for
just
small, like a little bit of usage, right? It's fine. But when
yeah,
it gets more and more, like full.
it gets it requires a lot of processing, and that just again you will require to compress it, and then
Correct.
that would cause more performance downgrade.
Absolutely.
It's again a
Yeah.
marketing gimmick that OEMs are pushing now. We'll just see almost
It's
everyone just pushing
very, like it is very bad to call it a RAM, right? It's like
that. It's not RAM. It's
it's
like
not RAM.
they should just call it swap or ZRAM. That should be fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Or
I
compressed
mean,
RAM. Right? Compressed RAM is the actual term. You can, I
correct,
think.
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
I mean, Apple is
So,
already having a compressed RAM, right? Like for ages now.
absolutely. I think every OS must have it, right? Otherwise, what will happen is they will run out of RAM and the kernel will panic or something else. Just like VM's kernel just
Yeah,
And
panicked.
also one more thing is like
So,
Linux has like the Android has this low memory
mhm.
killing device, okay,
oh
where
yeah,
when your RAM is
Currently,
just full, it will just kill your apps in background that are running, okay. Like for some
correct.
like for heavy OEM skins, that's super aggressive. Like it will just
Oh man.
instantly remove your app from background.
that's
Yeah,
like the
so
own
Yeah,
like
tier,
it
right?
wouldn't panic, okay.
Auto memory
It
killing.
will just kill
I
your
see.
apps.
Got it, got it.
They can literally
Interesting.
set the like the factor, right? Every process
Mhm.
has a like a killing factor. I forgot what is that Ohm factor, I think. Ohm factor, right? And this Ohm
Okay.
factor, how much high it is, it is likely the Linux kernel will go ahead and kill it, right? And you can say how much percent of the RAM should be free, right? Until the Oom killer is
Hmm.
initiated. And
Got it.
developers of devices, they can literally set it, right? And if they are
Yeah.
like maybe Oppo and those kind of brands, they're going to set it pretty high, right? By high margin.
Yeah, this OEM skin itself
Yeah.
is taking a lot of memory in the background. So like you wouldn't have more apps running in background. It will just kill
yeah,
Correct.
those. It's like super aggressive.
they should work on their like RAM hogging UI.
Oh man.
Nowadays, if you are buying a
That is
phone, right? I
horrifying.
mean,
Yeah.
if it is
Yeah,
from Google, right? A Pixel phone, it's just Google services. That's it, right? If you're buying a phone from
Correct.
Samsung, there are Samsung services, Google services, right? Two services.
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
thing. Like yeah, it's actually worse on like Chinese vendors where they just push out their own apps as well. They even have their own app stores. Okay, Xiaomi has this Get Apps thing, which just is another app
Yeah.
store. Just has lots of ads. Like they aren't restricted to not to ship it, so like they are just using it whatever they
Hmm.
could.
And the thing is that they're not even restricting that to, let's say it's a system app, you cannot uninstall it. That is understandable. You cannot even disable it.
Hmm.
So,
yeah,
that's whole another level, right?
Yeah, like it
It's
runs
like,
on the platform level. Okay, it's run on the system level. You
mhm.
can't disable those applications. Like there's still a third party
Mhm.
tool that could just allow you to disable
Mhm.
your applications like via ADB. Okay, that works on
I
almost
see.
all OEMs, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
or that was for MIUI specific. I think it was for MIUI. Okay,
Okay.
so
UI
like you
only.
Okay.
could disable a lot of apps, but then like the Get apps won't go away. That's like a I think
Oh
Get
man.
apps too can be removed, but then there's this security app that is like quite annoying. You can't remove it. It's special in MIUI. Like
Yeah.
it has clean master built in, which was banned.
Oh man. At its core, it is clean master, right?
There was saying Microsoft service also on Samsung, right? I mean, most probably,
Yeah, yeah,
most
yeah, yeah.
probably.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
ship
It
Office
is
apps.
correct. It is correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Samsung Gallery offers a backup on OneDrive. I don't know why.
they
Check it
can
out.
like it's like they're like it depends upon them. They could just use whatever they want. It's their apps. They
I
could
mean,
just customize
the
it.
thing is that it's the partnership between Microsoft and Samsung, right?
Yeah, they're
That's the
just
thing.
getting paid for it. They are like getting
Absolutely.
paid for
Microsoft is
bundling those packages.
exactly, exactly. Just that OneDrive user base increases. And one more
One
thing, let
one
me
user
know.
is basically you asking happiness, right? So what is happiness? I think.
Uh,
So
yeah, I
yes,
have seen this
happiness.
vector. I don't know what that is.
Oh, you don't know. Okay, so happiness is the affinity of this fat. Like how much you want to fat, right? I mean, how much free memory you have to have before you fat, right? more the swappiness is, the less free. I mean, like more free memory, it will like swap, right? That is more aggressive the swapping is, and
Understood.
actually that is normally I think 50 or something, right? Default value for swappiness.
I
Yeah.
mean, right?
System.
Yes.
Yeah, around that value. Correct.
Right. So yeah, but swappiness is, I don't think people do actually manipulate it that much. It's like kept constant. Right? But
Okay. Okay.
I think the womb killer is the one which actually manufacturers really like to think
And
of it.
Yeah.
well, actually, guys, you might know this feature in the kernel. I think what is it? KSM, yeah, KSM daemon. So, I mean, I've heard about it. Like, what it does is, I think it scans through the pages of RAM, and it scans for the similar ones and maybe combines them. I'm not so sure. I've heard about it, but this is one of the kernel features of actually Linux being used in some Android custom rules, sorry, custom kernels. And what it does, it uses a little bit of CPU, but it scans through the whole
Same
RAM.
page merging, basically. Same page merging. You're talking
I see.
about kernel same page
Yeah,
merging.
yeah,
Yeah.
correct. So yeah, so essentially just
If
whichever
it
pages
finds
are same,
identified, if it finds identical, it will just merge them.
Basically,
correct.
it is
And
a kind of like a compression, right? I mean, get
Yeah.
out compression
yeah,
without much CPU effect,
absolutely
basically.
right. Right.
And this happens a lot of time because the pages are pretty same, right? I mean, in the sense, if you have
Hmm.
two applications loading the same SOFL, right? And
Hmm,
if
hmm,
it is
hmm.
not shared, right, in the sense some might actually statically link it, right? And then it is two times loaded, and that page has to be now merged together, and less RAM usage will be there, right, at last. And
Yeah,
also there are a lot of free space. I mean, so many programs like Chromium, everything, right, allocates a lot of space and just writes empty data, right? I mean, not even actually useful data. And if actually they can merge them together, then these like free spaces and just identical information can be just compressed together, right? Listen,
correct.
that is pretty amazing actually. That is one of the reasons why Linux have lesser CPU usage. I mean, prime usage, right, compared to the
Yeah,
other OSs.
right, Abhiram. Absolutely correct. So yeah, so I mean, Salim and Sai, if you guys want to speak something about Android, you can speak. Otherwise, we can go to the next one. If you whatever your suggestion is, right?
See, Android, okay. So basically, recently there has been like Google is pushing less into AOSP apps. If you haven't heard about it, like they
Oh,
are
okay,
just
that is
not
new for me.
updating. They are not updating those apps at all. Like they just merging some
Mm-hmm.
translation and just fixes that they could be just, but the UI and stuffs like the Material U thing, which was introduced in Android 12, the applications are still running like Jellybean UI layout. Okay, like
Oh man.
the AOSP packages are like the horrible situation. Like they're
Ah,
just too old, and we are like forced to switch to like proprietary solutions. Like the like you could say we'll just have to force using like let's say the dialer. The dialer layout is just old. Okay, dialer. Now
Hmm.
even the calendar was the most old application that you could find on Android. It just looks super old. Okay. So we have to like Google is like pushing their own applications over AOSP applications. Like it's moving over to proprietary base.
Absolutely
I
right.
think we actually saw
And
that coming, right, in the sense.
we saw
I
that coming.
mean,
Yes.
yeah, it was
Actually,
coming. See, this is the
I
way they
mean,
could just earn money out of their
exactly.
Android. Okay, Android is open
Hmm.
source. They don't get paid for it. They just don't get money out of it. So they are now like pushing their own services. OEM has to certify, and then they'll have to pay some amount to just certify their devices. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing. Like they are just pushing their own
But
services, and then the user just
yeah.
gets hooked into those services. Let's take like Google Drive. So they're just
Hmm.
providing 15 gigabytes of storage. You need
Hmm.
more storage, you will have to pay for it. Like they are just pushing their services so that they could just get money out of it.
Yeah. But Sahil, I would say, from the start, they were already getting money. Why? Because every phone which is not in China was having Google services inside, right? And through that, they were getting lots of data, lots of advertising data. They were
Mm-hmm.
selling it to the advertisers. I wouldn't say selling it, but combining with advertisers, they were using that data to specifically give ads to
Targeting.
the user. So
Yeah.
they were earning a lot money through that. I mean, they are advertising company. They are not search engine. They are not.
Yeah.
operating system company. They are advertising company, right? So they
Yeah,
were
the
already
main
doing
revenue
that.
is through ads. Their main revenue is
Exactly.
through ads.
Right. So they were doing this from ages. They were getting the money, but now they are leeching the money. I would use that term. I
Yeah,
mean,
like they see now, just they are like
hmm,
forcing OEMs to switch to their
yeah,
proprietary solutions. Now, if you heard about Harmony OS, the Hawaii, Huawei, whatever you call it,
Yes.
yes.
it's basically AOSP, and they have just
Hmm,
skin it over. Now, AOSP is
hmm,
like open source; they just don't need to pay for it. But then the licensing for Google Mobile Services is paid, and then they can't just communicate with US based companies as per those laws. So they are just pushing their own services, their own suits, their own app suits into their, and they're just skimming, like they are just theming it to just make it like it's not Android, but it's like still Android.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, just
It's
putting
like
out a point here, like, yeah, Salim, please go ahead.
like they even creating a new Android, like an Android that is not an Android will take like some years to get to that level even to compete.
Yeah, it will take a
Uh,
lot. It will take a lot of toll on their development team as well. They will just require to like redo the things from scratch. Okay,
Hmm,
I
it's
absolutely.
mean,
like a
it's
lot
like
of,
I
a
mean,
MATLAB and Octave, right? Octave is basically a total clone in
and
the
it
sense like
won't
from the
even be profitable for them. Like the money
absolutely.
they'll be spending on redoing it, everything wouldn't even be worth it. So yeah,
They have to
that's
keep
still
the
Android.
API fame
absolutely
and
correct.
basically rewrite the whole framework.
Yeah, they're just doing framework level modifications, like, and then pushing their applications into it.
Correct. I mean, for the very same reason, Microsoft was trying to release their own Windows Phone OS on the what we call that
Windows,
Surface Duo, right? But
It is
just
Android
recently
now.
we found that,
yeah,
yeah, we found that I think Windows X was the name. I forgot the name, but that is dead now. That project is dead now. Just because, I mean, that OS was working, right? We have seen the leaks of the working OS, but only thing is that just to optimize and make that OS running on that hardware, and
Hmm.
to also maintain it, it takes a lot of energy and resources
Yeah.
in terms of money and workforce. So they won't. I mean, they just killed the whole working OS. And here we're talking about creating a new OS. I mean, that's huge.
See,
That's
like
years and years
Microsoft
of
does a
work.
lot of testing. They just do a
Hmm.
lot of testing in their developer channels. They like push builds around every week. They are just adding a lot of features, and like most don't end into production releases.
Correct. So true. Absolutely correct.
So like yeah, it's normal. They could just abandon the project because
But
they didn't.
Microsoft abandons a lot of them.
Yeah,
Yeah. Internally, I mean,
like
we
even
have
they
just
abandoned their browser that they've been pushing. Now it uses Chromium.
exactly. Oh my God. Yeah. That was a huge one. Like,
Wanting their
I
persistent
mean,
on is using Windows, right? When will they abandon that?
absolutely right.
No, they won't.
Absolutely right. I
okay.
mean, that is the one thing which should be abandoned, but they're not going to
No,
do.
no, no.
I mean,
We
maybe
need Office on
performs.
Linux. Once they
Yeah,
do that, we could just switch over that. That's the only thing that's bugging me.
I
The
mean,
open
yeah.
I
they
source
can
mean,
solutions
just
are
take the whole NT kernel, kick it out, put Linux kernel in it, right? And put some glue layer, right? I mean, to translate the codes. I think that will
absolutely,
perform way better than even the NT kernel bundle.
absolutely right.
Yeah,
No way. I mean, they already know what they're. Uh, I mean, to do this thing, they already have the knowledge because they already developed WSL, right? So they
And which is
absolutely
a wrong name.
know which is the wrong name actually. Windows subsystem on Linux. It is Linux subsystem on Windows. But
yeah.
anyway, they have the knowledge, but they are not going to do it just
there's
because.
also a Windows
Uh,
subsystem for
yeah.
Android that was like in Windows
Mhm.
11 they just
Hmm.
introduced that where
Oh
you could
yeah,
just run
that's
Android
interesting
apps on
topic.
that. Yeah.
Now they're partnering with Samsung
Hmm.
and basically, I don't know how they're doing it. Maybe some like a screen sharing option, right? I mean, with virtual
I,
screens, right?
I mean,
They're having apps.
Abram, do you remember that meme of Spider-Man who is holding, two strings with his huge full force, right? that Spider-Man who is like holding out,
The train thing.
yeah, train thing, right? He's
It's
basically
Tom
trying
Holland
to
only, right? I mean, actor.
actually, yeah. So I mean, the Spider-Man is basically Microsoft. One thing is Google, one thing is Samsung. Sorry, one thing is Google, one thing is Microsoft. With Google, I mean, recently you guys have seen that Duo is having one feature in which I guess if you guys do a Duo call, we can watch a YouTube video together, like just like in Share Play. Like the YouTube video will be playing natively on our devices with synced playback. So this is actually Samsung S22 exclusive feature. So this partnership with Google is also going on. Then again, a partnership with Microsoft is also going on with this Android apps thing. So that is Samsung is next level, man. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean now they are pushing out updates very fast. That is some other milestone. They were
Yeah,
they were
this
earlier
one
given the
UI if you
award
like.
of just being stagnant or
I
broken.
mean, Avram, do you remember? I mean, you guys, all of you guys must be remembering the era where TouchWiz was a thing, right? So TouchWiz, I mean, if you guys, Salim and Sahil, if you guys seem like very younger, so you might not remember, but in our
No, I
era,
have
like
seen the
when
touch base. It's
you,
like
you have
super
seen, right?
laggy.
It's an abomination of Android, right?
Absolutely. So
It's super
when
laggy.
when I was in 11th or 12th, right, all the Samsung phones were having the TouchWiz OS. So that was the MIUI of that time. Like essentially people were hating it a lot. For no reason, Samsung was making it cartoonish and those things. But essentially they moved into this one UI, and that is performing really good. And
Absolutely.
here, Oxygen OS is collaborating with Color OS. Oh man, the things is one train is going up, one train is going down.
Yeah, One UI is like very good in terms of optimizations and all.
Mhm.
Like keeping aside the RAM usage, the other things are like very good.
They
Yeah.
just do a lot of things around scheduling with their kernels. Okay, Samsung pushes a
Oh.
lot of patches to their
Mm.
kernels.
Mhm.
Like they just have
Mhm.
a lot of patches. If you diff around, it's like a lot of patches. They do a lot
Oh,
about scheduling and stuffs
Yeah,
with
I
their
see.
kernels.
like the
They
knobs and
have
all.
actually workspace, right? I mean workforce, right? They have already written
Yeah,
all the like FTL layers, like FTFs and all those things.
yeah,
Basically, they have written, right? I mean, they are
I
really
mean,
good at what they do.
yeah.
I mean,
F2FS
Avram,
from was Samsung. Now it's like an upstream thing.
actually,
Basically, everyone with Android 11, every OEM should ship that. That's like I think that was a mainline requirement. F2FS
I
is
see.
becoming compulsory on Android.
Hmm.
Oh. I mean, that is good for flash storage, I guess. I mean,
Absolutely.
even better is something like BTRFS, but we are not going to see that anytime soon.
BTRFS will require a lot of push in the sense it is a bit you can say heavy on CPU, right? It's not that
I see.
optimized to run on embedded
Hmm.
systems, like
Okay. Okay.
phones, right? So that is
Understood.
the main reason. FTOS is very simple, like it's a very
Okay.
simple file system. It is very similar to EXFAT, right? Like it's like not
Yeah.
journaling, right? Not journaling file system. So and also
Got it.
it doesn't really assume that you already have a like a bare flash, right? It assumes that you have
Yeah.
actually a FTL, right, underneath, and it
Okay.
actually what do you call it, like cooperates with the FTL, right, and really
Interesting.
bare levels and all those things, right. And Samsung manufactures most of the eMMC, so it will basically
Hmm.
fly, right. I mean, when you think
Absolutely
about it,
correct. 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 So true.
FTL is basically
And
made by them. Then why not, right?
yeah, and considering the R&D of Samsung, like if you guys remember, before touches they had their own OS. That was called as Bada OS, I think. BADA OS. Yeah. So, you guys might not know, uh, Android, first of all, Android was a team of, I guess, 10, 12 guys, right? Initially. They went to
Yeah,
Samsung for funding. Samsung denied it. Like, Samsung told they don't see any future in it. I saw this fact in Mr. Rose's boss's video. So essentially, Samsung denied Android team the funding. And they continued with their own Bada OS at the time.
And
just
Symbian, if I'm correct, both of them. They were also
yeah,
shipping Symbian.
I see. Correct, absolutely correct. And just 1 week after, Google acquired Android, and then Google started working on Android, and the whole thing, Android versus Samsung happened. Sorry, Android versus Bada OS, and the Symbian OS have happened, and essentially Android won the race. But then TouchWiz came, and then One UI came. There's a whole
Then they
thing
tried pivoting Android to Beta OS, I guess.
Oh man, yeah. Actually, I have seen the same model releasing with one with Bada OS and one with what do you call Android.
Android.
This was their strategy in those days. Absolutely correct.
Yep.
Well, for the talk of Samsung, they also abide by their updates. Like they are like very good
Yeah,
in doing those.
they are good at it now.
Yeah.
Actually, Abhiram is also having a Samsung phone, right? So Abhiram is literal.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't
you
think
know,
I will get Android 12,
customer.
right? I'm literally running Android 12.
But you
Yeah,
don't know
And
what
I'm
to
hearing
buy.
people
initially he
get Android
mentioned
11 now, right? I mean, like, that is
correct.
literally painful, right?
Absolutely. And
OEMs
Abhiram
pushing
is
Android
already
11.
having Android 12. Absolutely correct. I mean, I also never thought, right, that Abhiram will get Android 12, but essentially he got it. So
I don't think 13
that's
is
good.
a long shot now. So old now.
13 seems like a long shot here for S21 FE, right? Okay.
Uh,
Or S20 FE.
no. It's like Note 10, right? Note 10 Lite.
Note 10.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
S20 FE, I think it will get one more. I think
Oh, okay.
13 will be there. But this Note 10, I mean, it's like 4 years out after release, right?
I see.
So yeah, like they have supported a lot, right? I mean, this is like a long time
Hmm.
now, and actually it went above, right? They only told three
Mm-hmm.
years support. They now
Oh,
support
okay.
4 years, and they are saying that they will support up to
Hmm.
5 years with security updates.
Okay.
So that is good. I mean, that is absolutely good. And nowadays, new phones they are actually promising like 4 years, right? I mean, of the
Yeah, nowadays, I mean, what they're promising is like, not talking about Samsung, but the other OEMs, like what they're promising is 2 years of Android updates and then 4 years of security patches. So essentially, two major versions of Android updates. So if let's say a phone is having Android 12, it will go till 14 and then security patches till again 2 more years. So that is good enough. Like, security
Yeah,
patches is
that's like there's
essentially.
another thing going around. There's this vendor
Mhm.
freeze thing. Okay, the product, the Tremble project was introduced around Android Oreo. Now that
Mhm.
project is like you could say it's being enforced now. They'll be using the same vendor
Mhm.
proprietary part to push updates. Like those same vendor blobs will be used for like 2 or 3 Android updates without needing to update them. So that speeds up the process of updates.
Interesting.
right.
Interesting.
Only problem is if vendor actually has some security vulnerabilities, then like we are toast.
Yeah.
Correct.
They are not going to push anymore, right?
Let's hope so that there are no
Absolutely.
vulnerabilities. At least.
GST
Yeah.
is like I mean that is amazing, like, in the sense. But only thing is we will get better Android ROMs. That is it. I mean the
Hmm.
actual vendor part, which is also very critical, right? It's also running as chaos, right? Kernel objects, like having same privilege as the kernel, right? If they have vulnerability, then we are toast. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So I think in chat we don't have any questions right now. We can essentially move to a second topic, that is Ubuntu. So you guys know that Ubuntu is being maintained by Canonical. That's an organization which is maintaining Ubuntu from ages now, and they're trying to push their own what do we call package? Not I won't call it package manager, but uh, packaging scheme, right? I mean, what do we call Snap? Like, what is the general definition of Snap? Like,
It's a package manager only, right? But like it's a
uh,
third party
I mean,
package manager.
package manager is one of the part of the whole the system, right? Packaging system. Uh, so yeah, correct. So essentially,
But
Snap is
Snap is a package manager, right? I mean Snap package manager, right?
okay. Okay,
That's the name
interesting.
of Snap, right?
All right, all right.
I mean
So
NPM is like Node package manager. So these are all package managers.
hmm, all right. So the Snap package manager was basically developed by Canonical. They are pushing it so hard that nowadays, not nowadays, like 1 year back, they moved Chrome. and I guess Chromium also, from APD to Snap. So essentially, if you do APD install Chrome or Chromium, what the thing will do is basically download Snap first of all, install Snap on your Ubuntu if it doesn't have Ubuntu. Sorry, if it doesn't have Snap, and then through Snap it will install those packages. So essentially, you're just loading your system because Snap is all about what do you call, the package comes with its own libraries. So each and every package has its own library. So let's say I'm downloading Chromium and I'm also downloading Chrome, right? So essentially both the packages will have lots of common libraries. Now through Snap, what happens is each package will have its own copy of the library. So now it is good when we consider the stability of the thing, but it is bad considering the storage space. And the second thing is like, security is pretty much good because the application is sandbox in its own container. But now some some group actually has found vulnerability in that part of the system. So essentially, if hacker wants, then the hacker can get the root access of the main system through Snap, and that shouldn't happen anytime. Like, it's a container, right? I
Correct.
mean, why Snap? I mean, first of all, it shouldn't happen. And if it happens, then, if root access is there, then essentially the hacker can do anything. So it currently affects 40 million users, right? And it's in Ubuntu only. I mean, Ubuntu and all the distros where Snap is installed by default, or maybe it is being installed by user. So this is the scenario right now. And I mean, Aviram, Salim, Sahil, whatever your views on this, okay, you can you can speak, I guess.
Um, yeah, actually, please, just check your Telegram. Just a minute.
All right. Sure. No problem. So, all right. So, yeah. So that was, I guess, the main point of view that Ubuntu, trying to push a solution is good, but push it in such a way that it's not vulnerable. Like, it doesn't affect a lot of user security and those things. So that's what has happened, and I don't know how Penangle is going to solve it. But yeah, let's hope for
We
the
didn't
best.
Preet, so like
Yeah,
Sona is like leaving right currently because he has to
yeah,
go
yeah,
currently. So,
yeah.
okay, you can go off now, right? I will like adjust the window size and all. Okay, bye.
All right, bye. So yeah, just a moment. I'm just checking the stream.
Uh, I might need
Yeah,
a crop setting, right? Can you just
yeah.
give me?
All right. So the index is lagging a lot. Waiting for it to come in line.
Okay, so which one is it?
Properties here.
Okay.
Yeah. So while you're doing that, I'll speak
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. You can.
So yeah, and the second thing is, I would like keep this topic in next podcast, I guess. That's a huge topic by its own. But yeah, so coming on the next topic, we have M1 chip. So the problem with M1 chip is like, the hardware, the architecture is closed source, of course, but even the drivers are closed source. So if Linux wants to run on it, it has to have those support from the driver, right? Now, developers have basically made the Linux run on M1 chip, but the issue with that is it doesn't have GPU acceleration and many more features like scheduler and maybe CPU. What do you call driver? I mean, I forgot the name actually, which basically maintains the frequency levels of the CPU. So these issues how this can be solved is the developers can basically, if they don't have the access to the source code, so what they can do is they can uh, reverse engineer the hardware, right? So they exactly that is the exact thing which they did, and currently they have succeeded with the CPU frequency driver. So essentially now the frequency scaling and performance state management is absolutely amazing with it, and uh, that's a huge win for us actually. So I think in near future we will see Apple M1 chip running successfully on Linux.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also really hopeful about that because so obviously people who do
Yeah,
want actually Linux access in Mac, right? I mean, they had it in the
correct.
regions for a very long time. Even they could run Windows, I guess, right? But now with the
Yeah.
M1 chips, the whole architecture is different. Uh, even the architecture in the sense like the other architecture, right? The
Hmm.
ARM architecture is actually not similar to the like M1 architecture. I mean, it's similar, but it's not the same. Right? It's very different. So in theory, you have to have a lot of patches on top of Linux to even support M1, right? And currently, I think Linux boots on M1, right? I mean, already it booted. Right? It was not able to do the hardware accelerations and all those things, right? And now with this, we can actually get the hardware acceleration, and
Okay.
I think that will be a good thing because like one thing is that we need to see how what actually makes M1 tick, right? In the sense, so this will actually give us an idea of what really happens, right?
Absolutely right. And ever like coming to the previous topic, like the
Huh.
packages can actually gain the root access through the Snap environment. Like, what is your point of view on that? Like,
Actually, when you think about it, right? I mean, why does it need really root access, right? I mean, to install, yeah, right? I mean, it does.
hmm,
The Snap does. The
correct.
Snapstore does. But why does it need to use the root to run, right? So that means something
Hmm,
is actually running on the root level. For example, like some library, right, which is
I
running with
see.
set-to-id or something, right?
Hmm,
That is the thing, and I
okay.
don't know why even that's a thing, right? Like, it shouldn't be a thing, right? In Linux, it's like you install something and you run normally, right? And
Yeah.
that runs normally. It's like only some cases, like for example, pseudo binary and these kind of binaries have root access. And once you run it, it kind of what it does is it calls set-to-id and set-gid, right? Two methods
Hmm,
to set it to root, right? And
okay.
basically, that is needed to read the sudos file as well as gain root access to give you root access. If you actually
Okay.
have, like root privileges in the sudos file, right? I mean, the configuration basically. So Snap thing, I mean, like actually Canonical only makes Snap, right? If I'm correct, um, right? I mean,
Yeah. Right.
they are the
Snap is
ones.
being managed and developed by Canonical only.
So maybe it's a like Canonical, it's this company, right? It's not a what you can say like a group project in the sense. Archlinux.org is not really a company, right? It's just
Yeah.
a organization which is not comprised of um, what do you call it, investors and all those people, right? Just
Got it.
normal people who are like who want to participate. I mean, there are investors in it. They have to maintain the servers, right? So there are investors, but there is
Hmm,
direction and all those things. There are no directors of the company, right? It's like
got it.
it's just an organization which just works, cooperates together, and just keeps on rolling, right? And there will be a leader who actually kind of gives advice and keeps like the organization ticking, right? But Canonical is pretty much a company. It's not even a like I mean it's a non-profit organization when you say it. But see, they have already have a lot of track records of pushing ads and all those things, right? If you remember, they had
Absolutely.
uh, those apps pre-installed.
Amazon.
If you're correct, like, in Ubuntu,
Hmm,
it came preloaded with so many apps, right?
I do
Which
remember.
actually
Yeah.
Canonical was paid for to preload,
Correct.
and those kind of things really pisses people off. And there was also telemetry. telemetry
Yeah.
being put in to Ubuntu, right? And that was like, that really, stirred the, I guess, the whole ecosystem in the sense, right? In the sense, people started like, abandoning Ubuntu, right, and moving to other OSs. But the thing is, Ubuntu is too big to fail, right? It's like they came back, right? I mean, some of them came back. It's like people
Correct.
leaving WhatsApp, right? They come back to WhatsApp because there is no
Yeah.
choice. Majority of the people won't leave it, right?
Right.
But
Absolutely right.
I think they should not be pushing this Snap, right? Mainly because of the libraries.
Hmm.
If they're basically trying to replace, okay, APT with the Snap, then okay, fine, why not, right? But
Yeah.
not really like APT and Snap, right? It's like two dependencies we have to take care of. Now the system is more complex.
I see.
People file bug reports, right? And bug reports come to Firefox, for example.
Hmm.
Firefox will be like, asking, do we have a Snap version or the APT version? And
Oh
then
my.
they'll be
Yeah.
like, users will be like, okay, what is a Snap? Right? Because they
Correct.
just filed a bug report because they are normal users, they are not real developers, right? So these all things really pisses me a lot. I mean,
Right.
when you talk from the user standpoint, because Ubuntu is basically what do you call it? People who want to be
Hmm.
simple, just get a Linux distribution running and just have everything the Windows way, right? That is
Hmm. Hmm.
when people come to Ubuntu, right? I mean, otherwise people
Okay.
would go to Manjaro or any other more saner operating system, right? I mean, I'm calling them saner because they actually have a package manager which doesn't break like this. Actually, talking about it, right? Breaking, right? Ubuntu has a world record of breaking, right? It's like
Absolutely right. Oh man.
you try to fix one thing and you are left with fix million things, right? You might have that one thing fixed while breaking other million things.
Exactly. It's like,
Ubuntu,
you're,
yeah,
yeah, you're like, you are basically pulling one string and 13 strings are
correct,
basically going over.
breaking.
Absolutely.
You're trying to net one string and perfectly plays it, and 13 string breaks, right? Because of that
Right.
particular string. And I mean, this is like a thing, right? And in Windows also, right? People were like, okay, Windows is not working, let's reinstall,
Hmm.
right? Ubuntu is like,
Correct.
you know, system is non-functional, let's reinstall, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are cases where if Ubuntu even sees like one small error in the sense
Hmm.
like one program exited incorrectly, it will say like system is damaged or something, right? It's a problem
Correct.
detected. It's like, okay, I mean, don't make a long fuss about it. I mean, the system is working fine. It's just a minor program which actually crashed. Let go of that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe put it in the logs. Okay, there is a problem, right? And set the criticality, right? I mean, the
Hmm.
issues are like, every issue shouldn't be presented to user, right? As a next level critical world ending thing, right? Like, that is one of the
Exactly,
reasons
man.
also
Right.
why. So like, you know um, people just use Ubuntu just because it's like one click, everything is done or not done, then you can start from scratch kind of thing, right? So
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the point. I mean, one more thing is that, lots of these, what do we call, tech blogs, right? They do, if you search for top 10 user-friendly OSs, Linux, right? The In the top five, Ubuntu will be there.
correct.
And from word of mouth, Ubuntu has been popular. So, I mean, this is called, what do we call, hammer method in marketing, right? Wherein you just hammer the words to the people, so that, even though they don't want to listen, they will listen it at least once in their life. And when they're dealing with that word next time, they will find it familiar and they will go with that stuff.
Actually, if you
Essentially,
ask a
that is
normal
what.
user, right, what is Linux,
Yeah,
they'll most probably destroy Ubuntu instead of the Linux.
correct. So true. I
they,
mean,
they don't even
and
know, like, Ubuntu is a distribution, right? I mean, not really a
correct,
Linux, right?
correct, correct.
It's not representing the total Linux, right?
Absolutely right. Absolutely. I mean, lots of, I would say more than 90% of the people have their first distribution as Ubuntu only. Because
Correct.
in schools, I guess, generally people uh, come across Linux in schools or somewhere, right? And
Correct.
there actually Ubuntu is the only OS which is running currently in India
Because
at
of the
least. So
Ubuntu and all those, educational pushing, right?
correct, correct,
Actually,
correct.
this is
So
a
true.
this is a cool thing to discuss because why
Yeah,
is Nvidia so popular, right? I mean, why is Nvidia so popular? The major reason is the CUDA, right? I mean,
right.
CUDA is like there are a lot of developers for CUDA. I mean, why?
Hmm.
That is a real question, right? Why there is a more
So true.
developers for CUDA while there is lot of alternatives like OpenGL, everything, right? These
Yes,
are already supported by Nvidia, AMD, as well as Intel. I mean, every
absolutely.
GPU supports. Then why not just run, you know, OpenGL, right?
Hmm.
Why CUDA? The main reason is
Okay.
that education universities, right? It's like they
Yeah.
just push it. They just push CUDA into the curriculum. They just force students into using these things. Why MATLAB is popular? Education. Right? Just
Right.
people just say, okay, you want to do a research. If you are going to work with me, you are going to use MATLAB. You are not going to use
Okay.
Python. You are not going to use R. You are going to use MATLAB. That's it. End of story. And
Correct.
these universities already have their own, what do you call, like licensing schemes, old enterprise licensing, right?
Hmm. Right.
So
Right.
uh, students are basically like they can basically get MATLAB for free, right? And
Yes.
once they are done, they are screwed. They either have to
Because
like
correct.
crack it
Hmm.
or buy it. I mean, buying is pretty much not an option. I mean, 99% of students comes out, if they want to use
Hmm.
MATLAB, they crack it.
Correct.
Right?
I mean, speaking of myself, I'm for my usage right now, right? I could have used MATLAB and Python both, but the only reason why I don't go with MATLAB is because the moment I go out from the college, the license is going away. Either I have to crack it, that I'm not going to do, or I have to learn totally new thing, which is open source and free, right? And essentially, so if I'm going to do that after 2 years, why not do it right now itself, right? So that's the point. But the issue is that, like, see, MATLAB has those simulations, right? Which, as an electrical engineer, in my class, uh, we had around 10 groups, right? And out of 10, eight groups were doing MATLAB simulations as the
Training.
name of the project. And they were showing the simulated results as the output of the whole thesis, right? And that is valid actually, because it's a simulation done through MATLAB. It's valid. So that is one of the key usage of MATLAB in electrical aspect. So
Correct. I mean, see, like MATLAB is so trusted, we can say, right? The
correct, correct, correct.
In the research community that all the what do you call, the algorithms are sound. That is what
Yeah.
people think, right? But the thing is, actually, MATLAB had actually made mistakes many
Yes.
times, and many of those actually are not really mistakes of MATLAB. Right? When you think about
Yeah.
it, they are really ideal circuit or ideal condition mistakes, and MATLAB
Right.
actually have corrected for it. And these corrections, they need someone to answer, right? I mean, see, I'm having a model, I'm building in a
Hmm.
practical life. It's like say, like, exact same circuit. It's not working. And then we'll
Correct.
ask MATLAB, okay, this point I was supposed to get this particular signal. I'm not getting the signal, right? Why? And there should be someone to answer. And MATLAB there is, right? I mean, in Octave and all those software. I mean, who is there to answer, right? It's like it is
Hmm.
a one more thing, right? I mean, it's a one more thing, right? Which actually promotes
Correct.
MATLAB.
So true.
But the thing is,
Absolutely correct.
Python and every other software has come a long way, right? And it's come a very long way.
Yeah.
Just for simulation purposes, I think MATLAB is pretty good. I mean, I don't think we can beat it now because simulation really requires a lot of physicists, mathematicians, everyone to cooperate, and only way to cooperate is by using this thing, right? So like that really requires a lot of what do you call corporate motivation, right? You can say
Absolutely.
to cooperate.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
right. So yeah, that is the main reason. That is the main reason why open source softwares are not that good. But the thing is,
Hmm.
SimPy, all those things to exist. I'm really really amazed, right? Because people have written a solver, right, for open source
Oh
software,
man,
right?
that is
And
so good. Right.
that is really amazing, right? And if
Right.
actually people can do that, eventually, see, like physics is not going like steep, right? It was going steep.
Hmm.
Now it is plateaued, right? It's developing in a plateaued manner, right? It went steep at one time, right? So
Yeah.
what happens is the software is also going steep. MATLAB has gone steep. Then it has
Hmm.
also plateaued, right? So open source is like not going steep, but it's consistently going like this, right? One day
Okay.
it will kind of meet. The graph is going to meet, and that is when MATLAB will be like, "Oh shit, open source has caught up." Right?
Absolutely right.
And that may be the point where universities might be actually interested, because if they can save like, I don't know, even $10, they will do it, right? Universities, they'll be like,
That
why
would be
not?
great. Right.
Why not, right?
Absolutely right. Correct.
So
Yeah.
some
Well.
softwares do require a replacement, like Grammarly and all those things.
Hmm.
They are too much proprietary now. Like, I mean, if there is
I
no
mean,
replacement, they will literally, uh, you know, just
yeah.
just overrule the market. I mean, there are replacement,
True.
but they are not, even 10% as good as Grammarly. Yes,
Correct. Correct. Right.
it's like
Yeah.
we have to beat it. I mean, someone has to, right? Otherwise they are going to charge like, I don't know, $12 per month for students. Because
Yeah.
students are the
They're
most
going to
viable
increase the
customers,
price.
right?
Absolutely. I mean, as market monopoly is a huge thing. They're going to
Correct.
do that. If no one is going, do
I mean,
people still
do
use
you
MATLAB?
even give a person
Yeah.
who edits your report that much money?
Oh,
No, right?
I
I mean,
see.
you
Yeah.
don't.
I mean,
And that is
absolutely not.
that's weird, right? You give a software more money than
Correct.
a person who literally spends time and edits it. Like, this is just server
True.
spending
True.
like 10 milliseconds or 100 milliseconds on a document.
Correct. I
Yeah.
mean, we have a comment that
Yep.
do people still use MATLAB? And Python has already crossed it. This comment is by Rushi. So, I mean, see, considering the deep learning, machine learning, and almost all data science tasks, essentially Python can do it. Python can do it better because I have done it both. Actually, in MATLAB, I have done when I was in BTech. I don't remember it a lot right now, but I have done very very basic things. And so, see, it is the easiness is there, right, with MATLAB. MATLAB is, I would say, uh, and
Not as
language
hard as
made
C,
for scientists. Correct. So true. And
not as hard as C, but
essentially,
not as easy as Python also. It's somewhere in
correct.
the middle.
Absolutely.
It depends on what you
Yeah.
want, right? Some mathematics
Right.
is easy because it's already pre-built. But
Right.
writing the functions and all those things are literally weird, right? The old style
Functions
of
are I
algorithm
mean, so
style,
weird.
right? It's like
Correct.
algorithm
Correct.
style,
Correct.
right? How we write algorithms, exactly that is how we are going to write the functions
Absolutely.
and code,
I mean,
basically, right?
so true. I mean, MATLAB was made for scientists when Python was not there, essentially. This was the scenario, right?
If
When
I'm
Python
correct,
came,
Gilbert
when,
Stein, right? Gilbert Stein was the main mathematician
hmm,
behind
okay.
it, behind MATLAB,
Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not so sure, but yeah, you must be correct.
Yeah, because Gilbert Stein has even videos on all the
Oh,
decomposition,
okay.
all the linear algebra, right?
Wow.
And he used to work on MATLAB. So
Interesting.
he was like, okay, what do machines think?
Hmm.
What does machine do when you get a matrix?
Hmm.
You can do like decomposition and all those things by hand very easily,
Hmm.
but machines need a
Correct.
particular algorithm which is foolproof, right? It's not like checking if zeros there, right? I mean, then do some.
That's very
That is
inefficient.
not the how it does it, right? I mean, we have a
Correct, correct, correct.
bulletproof way with which it can do it, as well as it should be very easy, right? I
Hmm.
mean, it should be having lesser steps to do it,
Yeah,
and that
perfect.
is the reason the linear algebra branch, this branched into two things, right? One is like
Yeah,
mathematicians normal linear algebra, one is computer science linear algebra, right? And computer
absolutely
science
correct.
linear algebra basically helps everything. I mean, ML, like, I mean, data science,
Hmm.
everything, right? It's like even when you're seeing the pixels on screen, it's basically linear algebra
Hmm.
doing all the windowing, compositing, everything
Yeah,
is done by linear algebra, right?
that's
And
right.
it's just amazing. So,
Yeah, but Rushik, the thing is that so Rushik is saying that, but now even physics
this is
research people also use Python. See, the point here is, as we already told, that simulations of electrical systems, and I have done electrical engineering, that's why I'm saying this. Uh, those are pretty much easy to do in MATLAB. Like, point and click solutions are there, and they're pretty
correct.
much accurate. They're industry standard. Like, lots of huge industries are still using those simulations before building the actual machinery.
Correct.
So that is the main reason why MATLAB is still alive.
Actually, Rushik, the thing is, there are people, in MATLAB, I mean, the employees, right? They dedicate in taking the real world things and making it a module. It's in MATLAB. So literally, you can plug and place things. For example, MCB, 100% there will be a module in MATLAB for MCB. You know, it is going to detect the thing, right? And oscilloscope, there is oscilloscope in MATLAB, right? Literal oscilloscope. You can just put the probe anywhere, ground anywhere. You can connect it like a normal, like oscilloscope, and it will show you the, you know. But one thing is that you have to know, like, it's very slow. Like, the simulation goes like, I don't know, 1 nanosecond of
So slow.
simulation will be like seconds or hours, right? That's the
Correct.
situation, right? The simulation is very slow. But the thing is, it is possible, right? I mean, it also takes a lot of time, right? 10 GB or something,
Yeah.
right? The simulations. But the thing is, there are modules you can just plug and play, right?
Hmm.
That's it. Even if you want to develop a new thing, like for example, you want to
Hmm.
develop a Li-Fi from a Wi-Fi,
Hmm.
take the Wi-Fi stack, right? It's already built in, right? Edit it, and just put whatever you want in it. That is easier than building the whole thing from scratch in Python, right? In Python, these simulations are not already done. That's a problem.
Correct.
Actually, physics research, right? Physics research is much more, you can say, in depth, right? In the sense, see, physics doesn't have modules, right? In the sense, you don't have physics engine just to do stuff, right? In the sense, I mean, there is physics engine, but I'm not talking about graphics physics engine. We are talking about some vectors and all those physics, right?
Yeah.
So doing water simulations and all those things, right, really requires software actually. Like, I mean, the little software which needs to change. These researchers has to see the fluid simulations, right? And they have to see what is going through, right? I mean, what is the wave function? What are the wave functions being merged in this, this simulation of fluid, right? That fluid
Hmm.
is basically like a composition of waves, right? Basically you can say this fluid is basically a composition of waves, and you can do a Fourier transform, right? And the thing is, it's a three-dimensional wave, so 1D is very easy, right? You just have one Fourier transform, that's it, done. Then 2D is a little bit more harder, right? I mean, you have to
Absolutely right.
calculate Fourier transform on X plane and Y plane, right? But then when it comes 3D, you can't do Fourier transforms. It's like, it's very hard, right? Then you have to do some gimmicks, right, to simulate the thing. So then you have those neural networks and all those things already taking those sensor data and kind of accurately predicting, right, what will be the next point, and there are trickery involved, right, in simulations. And these
Yeah.
kind of things really require openness, in the sense, researchers has to know, okay, this was a parameter, then they will try physically, does it really work? I mean, is the simulation correct or not, right? And that is the end
Right.
result of physics. But in case of electrical engineering and electronics, 100%, even computer science, right, it's
Hmm.
like simulations are the end result. No one is going to
Correct.
build it, right? In this sense. And the simulations are good enough to a point where you don't have to really do it manually, because the equations are already fixed. If you get a transistor, you already know the Bass equation. Already know the all the equations for the transistors. What is the loss of the transistor when Bass is this much, and the voltage applied is this much in the emitter, right? You already get an idea of these things, because the theory is so sound. But fluid mechanics, all those things really require a lot of tinkering into it, right? And these are the
True.
ones physicists are interested. Turbulence of air, right? How we can simulate it. These are like, I mean, these are like supercomputers doing it, right? Supercomputers taking hours to render one frame of air simulation, literal air simulation,
Yeah,
and they may be
lots
taking
of calculations to do.
terawatts
I
of
mean,
power.
even those simulations are not perfect because they are not considering all the parameters, right? I mean, they are
Correct.
considering a lot of parameters. They're not,
The
then only they
majority,
are being
major
able
ones.
to measure ones, right?
Correct. Correct.
So, I mean, yeah, that is so true. Correct.
And there are no papers
Very correct.
coming in which actually can take more parameters but not take that much computation to do it, right?
Right.
I mean, I actually remember about 2 minute paper, right? One video where they explained
Yeah.
about the simulation of fluid in a very
Mm-hmm.
easy manner, right? Without even any
Okay.
acceleration from GPU or anything. See, with CPU, and that was amazing,
I see.
because in earlier days, fluid simulation, in games, why is C looking like shit? It's
Mm.
really damn hard to simulate fluids, right? The molecules involved, like there is laminar flow, there is turbulent flow, there is like chaos everywhere, right? Fluid, any
Totally.
fluid, I mean even air, and what, everything is fluid. These are like very chaotic in nature, right? And this chaos is really hard to predict, even though it's a deterministic system. It's like too much chaotic to a point where in order to know all the parameters, you need to be God.
Absolutely. Right. I mean,
And
a
that
slight
is
deviation in one of the parameter can lead to a whole different outcome.
correct. There's a pendulum, right? If I am correct, there is like a
Oh
three
man.
hinged pendulum,
Yeah.
right? And once,
Right.
I mean, you can literally even take a machine to do it, right? You can even make a machine which literally even calculates the angle and perfectly lists it. And if you watch it for 1 hour, right, 100% it is going to deviate. 100%.
Absolutely correct.
And that even
So
goes
true.
to the even the friction of each ball bearings in the system, right?
Yeah.
Everything is accounted for. The breeze, right, in the air, right? A little bit of breeze
Yeah.
can cause a butterfly effect, right? Cause
Right.
more and more
Right.
chaos. At last, causing a totally different pattern, right? And if you
Hmm.
add a UV laser and like a phosphor background, right, then it will be superb, like looking amazing, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I think we don't have any more questions currently.
Absolutely.
I think it was a great episode, I would say. The best episode, I guess, till point.
Yep, yep. I mean, Salim and what is the other guy's name? I forgot. It's
Sahil.
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 Okay, both of them uh, really
Yeah.
lit up, right? The whole
Thanks a lot.
episode.
Thanks a lot to them, and also thanks a lot to their fan base, right? I could see a huge fan base of Salim and also Sahil. They were like waiting for shout outs from Salim. I couldn't see that message, otherwise I could have given
Yeah, I mean,
given shout
I
out from him.
actually thought of saying to
Yeah.
him, but then I was like, he's not watching the stream. I think
Ah,
simultaneously,
okay.
right? Um,
Yeah, yeah. Right, right, right.
yeah, maybe next time, Salim. I mean, if you are watching, most probably you're not, right? Maybe next time we can actually have a,
Hmm.
what do you call, like a OBS that pop up when the messages come, right?
Yeah, correct,
The
correct.
stream. So you know
Perfect.
those things. Is there any possibility they both again? Actually, there is, right. I mean, there is a possibility, right? Let's see, right. I mean, depends on how satisfied they were with the whole thing. But I
Absolutely.
was
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like next level satisfied. I mean, they actually do have a lot of knowledge, especially the third. Like he's really good, really amazing. I mean, like I didn't actually
So
have this
true.
much knowledge when I was developing Android ROMs, right? And actually, he able to learn these things from the source code is pretty amazing. I'm pretty sure that he had a lot of help from all the developer community right around him. But the thing is that he is still way ahead, right? And that is amazing to see. People with his level of knowledge is actually there, and actually they are willing to participate
Correct.
on podcasts like this. You know, and now we
Yeah,
got a better insight on Android.
absolutely. We and our viewers also got a very good talk, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, so guys, we'll come every Sunday. Please leave a like if you like this podcast. We already have 14 likes. That's a huge milestone for us. And do share it with your techie friends, and they will also get to know a lot about Android. Especially this episode was giving out lots of knowledge on Android. So please share it with your friends, and let us know in comments or in touch forums if you have any suggestion or if you have any problem to be solved or something like that. We'll come every Sunday around 9 or 10 p.m. This time you are on time, I guess, right? So yeah,
Absolutely, just 15 minutes late
just
from
15
9.
minutes, correct. So thank you, Jatin. Thanks a lot. So yeah, I think. And do you want to end the podcast?
Until next time, right?
Until next time. Yeah. Bye, everyone.